The monster arrives. The night was quiet, too quiet. The stars above the city barely shined through the heavy clouds. People were sleeping in their homes, dreaming about work, family, and small problems of life. No one knew that their world was about to change forever. It started with a deep sound like a low drum beating under the ground. Dogs woke up first, barking loudly. Birds flew from their nests, screaming into the night. Lights in houses flickered. People opened their windows and looked outside, confused. Then the ground began to shake. In the distance, a dark shape appeared. It was huge, taller than the tallest buildings, wider than any river. It moved slowly but with great power. Every step made the earth tremble. Cars' alarms started to scream. Glass windows cracked and broke. Someone shouted from a rooftop, "What is that?" No one had an answer. The military was called quickly. Helicopters filled the sky. Soldiers ran to their tanks and trucks. News reporters tried to get close, but many turned back in fear. The dark shape was getting clearer. It was not a storm. It was not a building falling. It was a monster. Its skin was black and rough like stone. Strange lights moved across its body, glowing red and blue. It had no face, only a wide mouth full of sharp teeth. Its arms were long, its fingers sharp like blades. Every move it made, buildings crumbled like toys. The helicopters fired their strongest weapons. Missiles flew through the air and hit the monster. Explosions covered it in smoke. People cheered for a second. But when the smoke cleared, the monster was still standing. Not even a scratch. Fear spread like fire. On a small hill outside the city, a boy named Evan watched. He lived in a small village nearby. He was only 16, with short brown hair and curious eyes. He loved science and space stories. But nothing he ever read could prepare him for what he was seeing now. His father pulled him back inside the house. "Stay away from the windows," he shouted. "What is it, Dad?" Evan asked. His father shook his head. "I don't know, but it's not from here." In the city, the monster roared. The sound was loud enough to break windows miles away. People covered their ears and screamed. The monster smashed a bridge with one hit. Cars and trucks fell into the river like small toys. The president gave an order, full attack. Tanks rolled into the streets, soldiers fired everything they had. Machine guns, rockets, lasers. Nothing worked. The monster kept moving, slow but unstoppable. Scientists watched from underground labs. One of them, an old man with gray hair and tired eyes, whispered, "This is not an animal. This is something built. Something sent." No one understood what he meant. Not yet. In Evan's village, people packed their cars and ran. But Evan stayed at the window, watching. He felt something strange deep inside. Something calling him. It was not fear. It was something else. Something like a voice in his mind. "Fight," it said. "Stand." He shook his head. He was just a boy. What could he do? The monster moved closer to the edge of the city. Skyscrapers fell. Streets broke open. Fires lit up the dark sky. The army tried to build walls and barriers, but the monster crushed them easily. News channels showed the horror live. People around the world watched in shock. Every expert said the same thing. Nothing can stop it. At a secret government base far away, a group of people sat around a dark table. They were the leaders of something called Project Humanity. Their faces were hard. They had trained for years for a moment like this, but none of them expected it would come so soon. A woman with short black hair and sharp eyes spoke first. "We cannot defeat it with weapons," she said. "Then what?" asked a man in a suit. She looked at the screen showing the monster's path of destruction. "We must stand together," she said, "or we will fall." They made a choice that night. Not to run, not to hide, to fight. And somewhere, in the burning city, the monster lifted its head and roared again. It was not afraid. It was only just beginning. Project. Humanity's planty world was falling apart. Every day the monster grew closer to the heart of the planet, and no one could stop it. Cities once full of light and life were now just piles of broken stone and smoke. The news stopped calling it a threat. They now called it the end. At first, people thought someone else would fix it. Governments, armies, heroes. But now the truth was clear. No one was coming to save them. Deep underground, hidden beneath the mountains, there was a place called Blackstone Base. It was not listed on any map. It was not known to any normal man. Only a few powerful people had built it many years ago, for the day they prayed would never come. Today, it woke up. Inside Blackstone, the brightest minds of Earth gathered. Scientists who had once built space rockets, engineers who had once made machines for peace, soldiers who had fought wars and survived the worst battles. They were all here now. Not for money, not for glory, but for survival. The woman leading them was Commander Lena Frost. She was not tall, but when she walked into the command room, everyone stood straighter. Her hair was black as night, her face sharp like a knife, her eyes hard as stone. She pointed at the large screen showing the monster's path. Red lines crossed the world map like bleeding wounds. "We have 96 hours, Lena said, her voice cold and sure. "After that, humanity falls." "No," one spoke. The only sound was the soft hum of machines working deep under the ground. Lena turned to her team. "Weapons have failed. Walls have failed. We have one last chance. Project Humanity." A man with silver hair and tired eyes stepped forward. His name was Dr. Elias Vorn, the man who had once helped build the first human colony on Mars. "Project Humanity," Vorn said, "is not a weapon. It is not a bomb. It is an idea. The last hope." He pressed a button and another screen came alive. It showed strange designs, half machine, half human. Blueprints for a weapon that could think, learn, and adapt. A weapon powered not just by technology, but by the will of human beings themselves. Lena spoke again. "We will create something the monster has never faced before. A living army, joined by mind and machine, fighting as one." The room was silent. Many were afraid. It sounded impossible. It sounded crazy. But it was the only plan. They had far away in his small village. Evan sat alone in his room. The world outside was dark and cold. Most of the villagers had already left, running to places they thought were safer. Evan's father was packing bags, shouting for him to hurry. But Evan could not move. Something was pulling at him. Something, deep and strong. Then there was a knock at the door. Evan opened it to find two people in black suits. One was a woman with a scar across her cheek. The other was a man who looked more machine than human, with a metal arm and glowing eyes. "Evan Carter?" the woman asked. Yes," he stammered. "You're coming with us," she said. "Why?" "Because you survived. You saw it and lived. That makes you special." Before Evan could say no, the metal-armed man touched his shoulder. Evan felt a strange warmth move through his body. In his mind, images flashed. The monster, the earth shaking, and something else. A light hidden deep inside him. "You have the spark," the man said softly. "We need you." They took Evan in a black helicopter that flew low under the clouds. From the sky, Evan could see the ruined cities, the fires burning without end. The monster, moving like a dark god across the land. It was terrifying. It was beautiful. It was death itself. When they reached Blackstone Base, Evan could hardly believe his eyes. The walls were covered in silver. Huge machines, taller than buildings, were being built piece by piece. Thousands of people worked together, day and night like a giant living heart. Commander Lena Frost met him at the landing pad. She looked at him. A boy no older than her own nephew once was, and she nodded. "You're not a soldier," she said. "Not yet, but you will be." She led him through the halls, past training rooms, labs, and weapon factories. Everywhere, people moved quickly with serious faces. There was no laughter here, only duty. They entered a room called the Core. In the center stood a strange machine. It looked almost alive. Wires like veins moved in and out of it. It pulsed with a soft blue light. "This," Lena said, "is the bridge between human mind and machine body." "How does it work?" Evan asked, his voice shaking. You don't control it, Lena said. You become part of it. Your mind, your heart, your very soul, connected to others. Together you will form something stronger than any army. Evan looked at the machine. He felt the pull again, stronger than ever. We don't have time to train you slowly, Lena said. The monster is learning, adapting. Every time we attack, it becomes smarter. She showed him footage from the last battle. Soldiers firing everything they had, and the monster shifting its body, growing armor where the bullets hit hardest. If we wait too long, Lena said, it will become unstoppable. Evan's hands trembled. But inside he also felt something else. Not fear, not anger, hope. For the first time in days he believed they might have a chance. A chance. If he stood and fought. I'm ready, he said. Lena nodded. Then get ready to join Project Humanity. Somewhere, deep beneath the earth, the monster seemed to shiver, as if it felt the coming storm. But it would not stop, and neither would humanity. Evan's training begins. The metal doors of the training center slid open with a hiss. Evan stepped inside and his breath caught in his throat. He had never seen anything like this before. The room was huge, stretching further than the eye could see. Giant machines floated in the air. Glowing targets moved on invisible tracks. Strange weapons and armor stood lined up like statues from another world. Waiting for him was a tall woman in a black combat suit. Her hair was white, her skin covered with fine scars like silver rivers. My name is Arya Kane, she said. I will be your trainer, or your executioner. Depends how strong you are. Evan swallowed hard. There was no kindness in her voice, no time for weakness. Behind her, dozens of other recruits were already training. Some were older men and women, some were teenagers like him. All wore the same, determined, desperate look. Welcome to Project Humanity, Arya said. Forget everything you know. Out there, she pointed toward the surface. The monster evolves. It learns. If you don't do the same, you die. No one clapped. No one cheered. This was not a celebration. It was a war. Evan was given a small room with nothing but a bed and a locker. His first night, he barely slept. Images of the monster haunted his dreams. Its long arms tearing down towers, its mouth wide open in a silent roar. But worse were the dreams he couldn't explain. He saw flashes of ancient machines buried under oceans, stars burning out, strange voices whispering in a language he didn't understand. When he woke up, his hands were shaking. The next morning, training began. It was brutal. They woke at 5. No talking. No rest. Physical drills first, running on endless tracks, lifting, heavy metal plates swimming through black icy water, then mental tests, solving impossible puzzles, connecting minds with strange machines that made your head feel like it would explode. The monster does not just kill your body, Arya shouted, as they ran. It kills your mind. It fills it with fear, with weakness. You must be stronger than fear. Many recruits dropped out within the first week. Some cried, some collapsed, some just disappeared quietly, their lockers empty by the next morning. Ivan Xiao wanted to quit too. His muscles screamed. His mind burned. Every night he fell into bed thinking, I can't do this. But then, he remembered the faces of the people running from burning cities, the children crying, the parents calling out names that would never be answered. He couldn't run away. He wouldn't. After 3 weeks, Arya called Evan into a special room. This room was different. It was quiet, almost sacred. In the center stood a strange chair, made of silver and black metal, surrounded by floating orbs of light. You are different, Arya said, studying him. You have something inside you, a connection. Connection to what? Evan asked, nervous. To the ancient ones, she said. The first makers. Those who fought monsters like this, long before human history began. Evan thought she was joking, but her eyes told him she was serious. Sit, she commanded. He obeyed. The orbs floated closer. Thin threads of light connected to his temples, his heart, his hands. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, it hit him like a wave. He wasn't in the room anymore. He was standing on a battlefield under a black sky. Giant creatures fought in the distance. Some looked like monsters, others like shining knights made of stars. He heard screams, roars, songs in languages no human had ever spoken. He saw himself, or someone like him, wearing armor made of pure light, standing against a beast the size of a mountain. He understood deep in his bones. This was not the first time Earth had been attacked. This was a cycle, and he was part of it. The vision ended, and Evan gasped for breath. Sweat poured down his face. His heart slammed against his ribs. Arya looked at him with a strange mix of pride and sadness. "You saw it, didn't you?" she said. Evan nodded, still shaking. "Then you are ready for the next step." The next step was even harder. Evan and the few recruits who survived the first training were taken to a place called the Mind Chamber. Here, they would learn to link their thoughts together, to become a network, a single, living weapon. The machine was dangerous. If they failed to connect properly, their minds could break. Some had tried before. Some never woke up again. "Trust is everything," Arya told them. "You must trust each other. You must move like one body, one soul." The training began. At first, it was impossible. Thoughts collided. Memories bled into each other. Fear spread like poison. Evan saw the fears of the others, a girl who had lost her family, a boy who had seen his city burned, a soldier haunted by guilt he could never erase. They saw Evan's fears too. His fear of being too small, too weak, too late. At night, Evan sat alone in the dark, wondering if he could really do this. But then, on the 5th day, something changed. During a connection exercise, Evan stopped fighting the fear. He let it in. He shared his fear, and the others did too. And somehow, instead of weakness, they found strength. Their minds clicked together like pieces of a puzzle. Evan felt their courage, their anger, their hope, and they felt his. For the first time, they became one, a single force, a living weapon. Arya smiled. A rare thing. "Good," she said. "You are now ready." Ready for what? Evan didn't know yet, but deep inside he could feel it coming. The monster was waiting, and soon they would face it, not as broken humans, but as something new, something unstoppable. First, battle. A terrible loss. The sun never rose that day. Thick black clouds covered the sky, blocking all light. The air was cold, heavy, and smelled like burning metal. In the distance, the ground shook with every step the monster took, like the heartbeat of death itself. Inside Blackstone Base, alarms screamed. Red lights flashed across every hallway. Soldiers, engineers, and scientists moved quickly, their faces tight with fear and focus. Today was the day. Today humanity would fight back. Evan stood in the armor bay, his heart pounding in his chest. Around him, the other recruits strapped on their battle suits. Sleek metal armor connected directly to their minds. It was not just protection, it was an extension of their very souls. Commander Lena Frost walked in front of them, her voice cutting through the noise like a blade. "You have trained for this," she said. "You are not just human anymore, you are more, you are the sword we send into the darkness." She looked at each of them, her eyes cold but proud. "Some of you will not come back. Remember this. Fear is not your enemy. Giving up is." The final siren wailed. It was time. Evan climbed into his battle pod, the chair locked around him. Cables connected to his arms, legs, spine. He closed his eyes as the machine fused with his mind. For a moment he was nothing, just a thought floating in space. Then the connection snapped into place. He felt the minds of the others around him. Strong, sharp, burning with purpose. They were ready. The battle group launched into the sky. Hundreds of silver pods shot upward, then opened like metal flowers. Armored warriors fell from the sky. landing in the ruined city where the monster had last been seen. The city was dead. Broken buildings leaned against each other. Fires burned without control. Black ash rained from the sky like snow. And then, there it was, the monster. Worse up close. Bigger. Uglier. Its body had changed again. Now it wore armor made of broken steel and crushed concrete. Pieces of buildings were stuck into its skin like a twisted crown. It roared, a sound that broke windows and bones alike. "Formation, Alpha." Lena's voice came through the comms. "Focus on the joints. We slow it down first." The warriors moved as one. Evan ran with the team, each step making the ground crack. He aimed his pulse rifle at the monster's leg joint and fired. Bright blue energy slammed into the monster's knee. Other warriors followed. At first it worked. The monster stumbled, roaring in pain. Hope flared in Evan's chest. Maybe they could win. But hope was dangerous. The monster adapted. Its skin shifted again, becoming smoother, harder. Energy weapons now bounced off like raindrops on stone. Then it attacked. With one swing of its massive arm, it crushed 5 warriors in an instant. Their armor shattered like glass. Their minds, still linked to the network, screamed through the connection before fading into silence. The shock hit Evan like a hammer. Friends he had trained with, gone in a second. "Stay focused!" Arya shouted through the link. "Do not break the connection." But it was too late for some. Panic spread through the network like a virus. Warriors hesitated. They moved slower. Fear clouded their minds. The monster moved faster. It tore through their lines, ripping bodies apart, smashing machines, breaking hope. Evan fought as hard as he could. He dodged a massive hand, fired at the monster's glowing weak spots, helped pull wounded fighters back. But every minute, they lost more people. At Blackstone Base, Lena watched the battle through the command screens. Her hands gripped the table so hard her knuckles turned white. "We're losing them," a soldier said. "Order the second wave," Lena said through gritted teeth. "But do it." Hundreds more pods launched into the burning sky. Reinforcements rained, down like silver stars. But even with more soldiers, the monster fought like a living storm. It moved with unnatural speed, smashing everything in its path. Its body continued to adapt, growing spikes firing blasts of dark energy from its chest. Evan barely avoided a blast that turned a building into dust. His armor was cracked, his energy low, but he refused to fall. Arya's voice came into his mind. "Evan, listen. There's a weak point at the base of its spine. It's small, hidden, but it's real." Evan looked up. He saw it, a tiny glowing mark where the monster's armor hadn't fully closed. "We have to hit it," Evan said. "Alone, you'll never reach it," Arya said. "But together, maybe." The surviving warriors gathered around him. Not many left now, maybe 20 out of hundreds. They formed a spear formation, Evan at the tip, the others feeding him their energy, their strength. "For humanity," Arya said. "For humanity," they all echoed. They charged. The monster saw them coming. It roared and swung its arm. Evan dodged left. 2 warriors took the hit for him, their suits bursting apart in flashes of light. He didn't stop. He ran faster, his boots burning against the broken ground. The monster fired a dark blast. Evan jumped, higher than he ever thought possible. Boosted by the power of the others, he flew straight toward the weak point. The monster turned its head. Their eyes met. For a second, Evan saw something inside those eyes. Not anger. Not hate. Something older. Something afraid. But it didn't matter. Evan aimed his energy blade and drove it deep into the weak point. The blade sank into flesh and metal. The monster screamed, a sound of pain so deep it shook the bones of the earth. It staggered backward. Evan fell, rolling across the ground. His suit's power was gone. He could barely breathe. He looked up. The monster stumbled. Then, to everyone's shock, it healed. The wound closed in seconds, even faster than before. The monster stood taller than ever, stronger, more unstoppable. Evan's heart broke. They had failed. The surviving warriors pulled back, dragging their wounded with them. In the sky, black clouds gathered, and the first drops of cold, heavy rain began to fall. The battle was over, and humanity had lost. Deep underground, Lena Frost watched the final moments in silence. Her face was stone. "What now?" someone whispered. Lena's voice was cold and hard. "We find another way," she said, "or we die." Far away, the monster lifted its head to the sky and roared. It was not finished, and it was only getting stronger. The secret of the monster. The rain fell harder now, washing blood and ashes into the broken streets. The world was silent except for the soft crackling of fires that would never be put out. At Blackstone Base, the survivors returned. They were not victorious. They were broken. Commander Lena Frost stood at the entrance, watching as the battered soldiers stumbled in. Her face showed no emotion, but inside her chest, a cold weight grew heavier. Almost 3/4 of the fighters were gone, lost forever. Humanity's first real battle had ended in disaster, but this was no time for mourning. This was a time for answers. Evan sat alone in the medical wing. Machines buzzed around him, patching his wounds, scanning his mind for damage. His body ached. Every muscle screamed. Every bone felt cracked. But it was not the pain that haunted him. It was the monster's eyes. He could still see them. Those ancient, deep eyes filled not with anger, but fear. Why? Why would something so powerful be afraid? As Evan stared at the ceiling, lost in thought, Dr. Elias Vorn entered the room. The old scientist looked even older now, as if the battle had drained years from him. "We need to talk," Vorn said quietly. Evan nodded weakly. Vorn helped him up, and together they walked deep into the heart of Blackstone, deeper than Evan had ever gone. They reached a door made of dark, thick metal. "Only a few people know what's behind this," Vorn said. "Even fewer understand it." He pressed his hand against a scanner. The door opened with a heavy groan. Inside, Evan saw something that made his blood run cold. It was another monster, smaller, broken. Locked inside a glass chamber, its body was dead, rotting, falling apart. But it looked almost the same. Blackstone skin, glowing red veins, mouth full of teeth. "What is that?" Evan whispered. Vorn looked at it with sad eyes. "That was the first one," he said. Years ago, long before Evan was born, Blackstone Base had been built for a reason. Not for war. Not for science, but for a secret. A discovery. Made deep beneath the Arctic ice, scientists had found something frozen in the ice for millions of years. The body of a creature, not from Earth. They brought it here. They studied it. They tried to understand it. And slowly, they pieced together the terrible truth. The monsters were not random. They were weapons, built long ago by an ancient race. A race older than humanity, older than Earth itself. A race that no longer existed. The monsters were created to travel from planet to planet, to destroy life, to make way for new masters. They were living machines, programmed to adapt, evolve, survive. But the ancient ones had vanished before they could use them, and the monsters, left without orders, drifted through space, until one finally fell to Earth. "We thought it was dead," Vorn said. "We thought it was just a corpse. We were wrong. The creature had not died. It had slept. And when humans began digging too deep, building too much, disturbing the old places of the world, it woke up, and it was only the first." Evan stared at the broken creature behind the glass. "Then the one we're fighting now," he said slowly, "is one of many," Vorn finished grimly. "A scout. A test." Evan felt the ground shift beneath his feet. "There are more?" Vorn nodded. "We intercepted signals, faint but real. There are others still sleeping, waiting." Evan's mind raced. They had lost everything just fighting one. How could humanity survive if more came? "There's more," Vorn said, leading him deeper into the hidden lab. On a table lay pieces of strange technology, shards of dark metal, cables that moved like living snakes. These, Vorn said, are parts of its mind. Mind? Evan asked. The monster is not just muscle and bone. It's a network, a living computer. And right now, Vorn said, voice heavy with fear, it's learning from us. Evan stepped back, feeling sick. Every time we attack, Vorn said, every time we fight, it becomes smarter, stronger. Then how do we kill it? Evan asked desperately. Vorn looked at him sadly. You don't kill a mind, he said. You rewrite it. Lena called an emergency meeting. The last remaining leaders of Blackstone gathered. Grim faces, tired eyes. Vorn explained the truth to them. The origin of the monster. The danger. So what do we do? Arya Kane asked, her voice sharp and cold. We attack its mind, Vorn said. We plant a virus, a memory. Memory? Lena asked. Vorn nodded. Monsters like these don't think like us. They don't feel fear of death. But they do remember their creators. If we can remind it of its first programming, its first orders, we might confuse it, maybe even stop it. The room fell into heavy silence. How? Lena finally asked. Vorn turned to Evan. With him, everyone stared at the boy. Evan's stomach twisted. Me? He said. Why me? Vorn answered calmly. Because when you connected to the bridge machine or you saw the ancient ones, you touched their memories. You have the link. So you want me to… What? Talk to it? Evan said, half laughing, half terrified. No, Vorn said. We want you to dive into its mind. The plan was madness, suicide. Evan would have to be connected to a special machine. The Mind Gate, a device so dangerous it had been locked away for years. Through the gate, Evan's mind could enter the monster's network. If he could find the memory of its creators and awaken it, maybe, just maybe, the monster would stand down. Maybe, or maybe it would tear his mind apart in seconds. No one could promise him anything. Lena pulled Evan aside before the final decision. You don't have to do this, she said quietly. Evan looked into her eyes. He thought of the burning cities, the fallen soldiers, the broken families. He thought of the monster's eyes, and the fear hiding inside them. I'll do it, Evan said. Why? Lena asked. Because someone has to stand, Evan said, or no one will. Lena nodded once, a tiny smile on her lips. Then may the stars guide you, she said. As Evan lay down inside the mind gate, wires connecting to his head and heart, he felt a cold calm settle over him. This was it. No more running. No more fear. Just the final mission. The machine hummed to life. Evan closed his eyes and jumped into the mind of the monster, into the darkness, into the unknown. Humanity's final stand. Darkness swallowed Evan as the mind gate pulled him deeper. There was no sound, no sight, no feeling of body or breath. Only endless cold black. Then, slowly, a heartbeat. Not his own. Something ancient. Something massive. The monster's mind. Evan floated in the void, searching for anything and any light, any path. Then he saw it. A tower of broken memories rising like a black mountain in the distance. Around it, shadows moved, twisted shapes from nightmares. This was the monster's memory core, the place where its first orders still slept, hidden under layers of rage and evolution. Evan moved toward it. Every step was a battle. The shadows attacked, clawing at his mind, whispering fears, showing him visions of failure, death, loneliness. He gritted his teeth and pushed forward. Somewhere far away, he could feel the real world. Lena, Arya, Vorn, and the others preparing for the final battle. If he failed now, if he was too slow, humanity would fall before he ever returned. On the surface of the earth, the sky was black. The monster stood at the center of the dead city, its body now taller than mountains, its arms like bridges of dark steel and burning flesh. It had stopped moving for a moment, sensing something wrong, something inside its mind. But it would not wait long. Blackstone Base launched its final forces. Every surviving ship, soldier, and machine flew into the storm. Commander Lena Frost stood at the front of the lead ship, her armor battered, her face calm and hard. "This is it," she said over the comms. "We hit it with everything we have. We buy Evan time." "And if he fails?" someone asked. Lena smiled without humor. "Then we make sure humanity goes down fighting." The fleet roared forward, firing streams of light and fire toward the monster. Missiles exploded against its body. Beams of energy carved burning scars across its skin. But the monster did not fall. It roared, a sound so powerful it shook the air itself. Then it attacked. One sweep of its arm shattered 10 ships in an instant. Another blast of dark energy ripped open the ground, swallowing tanks and soldiers whole. Still, humanity fought on. This was their last stand, their final roar against the dying of the light. Inside the monster's mind, Evan reached the tower. He placed his hand against the cold black stone. Images flooded into him. Too fast, too many. He saw stars being born and dying. He saw the creators, tall beings made of fire and metal, building the monsters as tools of conquest. And he saw the first monster opening its eyes, filled not with hate, but confusion. It had been made to destroy. It had no choice. It knew nothing else. But then, the creators vanished. No orders came. No purpose remained. And in the silence, the monsters drifted through the universe, lost and mad. Evan reached deeper. At the very center of the tower he found it, a hidden command. 3 simple words, carved into the monster's core memory. Obey the voice. Evan understood. The monsters were still waiting for the voice of their masters. If he could become that voice, he could stop it or control it. But there was a risk. If he failed, if his mind was too weak, the monster would not just reject him, it would consume him, destroy his soul, and awaken fully, smarter, deadlier than ever before. Evan's hands trembled. He was just a boy. Who was he to command a god? Then he remembered the training, the faces of his fallen friends, the cities burning, the children crying. He was humanity's last hope. He opened his mouth and spoke into the mind of the beast. Not with fear, not with hate, but with power. "Hear me," he said. "I am the voice." The shadows screamed. The tower shook. The monster's mind fought back, throwing storms of pain and terror at him. Evan screamed too, but he did not let go. "Hear me," he roared. "Your masters are gone. Your purpose is broken. Now, you obey me." On the battlefield, the monster froze. Its body shuddered. Its roar turned into a low, confused moan. Lena saw the change. "Hold the line," she shouted. "Keep firing." Soldiers and ships circled the monster, bombarding it with everything they had, trying to keep it distracted. Inside the mind, Evan pushed harder. He climbed the tower, through storms of darkness, through waves of memories that were not his. Every step was pain. Every breath was a battle. But he climbed, and at the top, he found the core, a sphere of burning white light, the monster's heart. He reached out, touched it. For a moment, he saw everything, the vast emptiness of space, the loneliness of a creature made only for war, the endless hunger for meaning. And then, peace. The monster fell to its knees. Its body shook the earth. Fires went out. The storm clouds began to break, revealing a thin line of blue sky. Humanity watched in stunned silence. Was it over? Had they won? Commander Lena Frost narrowed her eyes. "Wait," she whispered. Inside the mind, Evan felt the beast surrender. He felt its heart accept him as the new voice. But deep inside, something else stirred. Another presence. Another mind. Older. Darker. something the creators had hidden. Even from the monsters, a backup, a last defense. If the monster ever fell under enemy control, the backup mind would awaken and destroy everything. Evan realized, too late. The mind of the destroyer opened its eyes, and it was angry. The monster's body shook violently. New black tendrils erupted from its back, its arms regrew, its mouth twisted into a scream of pure rage. Lena saw it happening. "Pull back," she ordered. "It's not over." The monster rose higher than before, stronger than before, its skin burning with black fire. Evan fought inside its mind, screaming against the ancient destroyer. He was just a boy. The destroyer was billions of years old. He could not win, unless he did something no one expected. He didn't fight harder. He let go. He let go of fear, of anger, of the need to control. He gave the monster a new memory, hope. Evan poured it into the mind, the memory of humans standing together, fighting for each other, loving, dreaming, building. He showed the monster what life could be, not war, not destruction, but something else. The monster hesitated. For the first time in its long life, it felt doubt. The destroyer's mind shrieked in fury, but it was too late. The seed was planted. The monster's body exploded with light, not black, not red, but pure white. It let out one final roar, not of rage but of release. And then, silence. The monster fell, this time for good. Evan collapsed inside the mind gate. Doctors rushed to him. His heart had stopped. Arya pulled off his helmet, shouting his name. Nothing. Lena stood over him, fists clenched, refusing to cry. Then, a cough. Evan's eyes fluttered open. "Did we win?" he whispered. Lena smiled, and a real, broken, beautiful smile. "Yes," she said. "You did." Outside, humanity cheered. The monster was dead. The sky was clear. The earth was free. For now. But deep in the stars, far beyond human eyes, other shapes were moving, other monsters, and the next battle was only just beginning. Victory or extinction. The dust began to settle over the battlefield. For the first time in weeks, the air was silent. No monster roared. No weapons fired. No cities burned. The monster's giant body lay across the ruined city, broken and still, glowing softly from inside like the last breath of a dying star. Humanity had survived. Barely, at Blackstone Base, a new light burned, fires of celebration, fires of rebuilding. Soldiers hugged each other. Scientists cried with relief. Commanders who had not smiled in years finally laughed, a hard, tired, grateful sound. Commander Lena Frost stood at the top of the command tower, looking down at her people. She allowed herself a small smile, but only for a moment, because deep inside, she knew the war was not truly over. Not yet. Evan sat alone at the edge of a cliff overlooking the battlefield. His armor was broken. His body was weak. Scars covered his skin, some visible, some deeper. He was no longer the boy who had once stared at the monster in terror from his village window. He was something more now, something harder, something lonelier. Arya Kane found him there. She sat down beside him without a word. For a while, they just watched the sky where the first stars were beginning to appear. "You saved us," Arya said quietly. "Not alone," Evan answered. He thought of the faces of those who had fallen, the friends he had made during training, the warriors who had stood with him during the final charge. They were gone, but not forgotten. Arya handed him a small object, a piece of black stone, smooth and warm. "What's this?" Evan asked. "Part of its heart," she said. "A reminder." Evan closed his hand around the stone. A reminder of what they had won, and what it had cost. The world leaders held a meeting at Blackstone. Every nation sent representatives, tired men and women, scarred by war. They sat around a great table made from the metal wreckage of the fallen monster. Lena stood before them. "We are alive," she said, "but we are not safe. She pressed a button. A hologram appeared, a map of the solar system. Tiny red dots blinked near the edges of the map. "What are those?" someone asked. "Signals," Lena said. "We've been listening." And now, something is listening back. The room fell silent. "Other monsters?" another asked. "Maybe," Lena said. "Maybe worse." No one spoke for a long time. Then the president of the World Council stood. "What do you suggest?" Lena looked at Evan, standing quietly at the back of the room. Then she looked back. "At the leaders we build," she said. "Not walls, not weapons. A force, a united defense. Humanity is one." "And if they come?" someone asked. Lena smiled, a cold, fierce smile. "Then we show them," she said, "that this planet is not theirs to take." Months passed. Cities were rebuilt, stronger and smarter. New technology, born from studying the monster's remains, helped humans heal faster, move quicker, think sharper. Blackstone Base expanded, no longer a secret, but a beacon of hope. A new army was trained, the Sentinel Corps, humans linked by mind and machine, ready to stand against any threat. And at the heart of it all stood Evan, not a soldier, not a commander, something more, a symbol. A living reminder that even when gods fall from the stars, humanity rises. One night, Evan stood again at the edge of the cliff, the Blackstone heart still in his hand. The stars above were clear and sharp, but among them, something moved, a faint shadow blocking the stars for just a second. Then another, and another, like sharks circling in the deep, dark sea. Evan narrowed his eyes. He felt it, deep in his bones. They were coming, not tomorrow, not next week, but soon. Bigger, smarter, angrier. This time, not just one. This time, a fleet. He tightened his grip around the stone. Behind him, Blackstone Base lit up, alarms ringing once again. But Evan was not afraid. He turned, walking toward the base, toward the fight. Because humanity had changed. They had found their strength, their unity, their reason to fight. And when the darkness came again, humanity would not kneel. They would roar. They would rise. And they would make. The stars remember forever. This world was defended. This world was home. This world would never fall. Not without a fight.